Good morning, everybody. It's Jenny Norris coming to you live via Facebook broadcast. And this is the Home Staging Talk Show brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. And here is our Home Staging Talk banner. So I know it's kind of high. Anyhow, I want to welcome you all to this week's session. We have a great one. It's going to be all about pricing strategies and also understanding your value for, hi everybody, for pricing your services. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. We have two guests, Catherine Lewis Brown and Marianne Cherico are going to be joining, and we have a good discussion going to be happening. So Home Staging Talk Show Live is a weekly session on Facebook Live, so it's a broadcast every Wednesday at 9:30 Mountain Time. And we cover topics pertinent to the home staging industry and business in general, just to help people who are maybe struggling in an area, want to know more information, or just want clarification. So it's all about having a conversation that can help benefit our industry. So that's the whole goal of this broadcast. And so thank you all for joining us. So again, we're going to be talking about pricing strategies. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to bring on, let's see who's here. Catherine Lewis Brown. All right, so Catherine, I'm adding you to the broadcast. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Keely. Hi, Sacramento class. My parents live in Roseville, Sacramento class, so that's where we moved to here from Roseville. So very familiar with.
I know Roseville.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Good. So tell everybody who you are and name your company, what you do.
Okay. So my name is Catherine Lewis Brown. I am the founder of the Successful Stager Training Programs, and I'm also a stager. I have owned Ready to List Staging in Toronto and have been staging since end of 2010. So it's going on a decade. Who thought?
That's scary.
And I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Toronto's beautiful.
Like
I remember teaching there. I taught there once at University of Toronto. This is back when people would book our training locations for us, and this gal didn't. After this class, she didn't stay with the company because I got booked into a pub.
Oh, I could go for that.
I taught at a pub, and I was like, okay. And then my room was like a library, and they put a rollaway bed in there, and people were dragging furniture over it all night long, and it's one of those memorable. Like, you don't want to repeat this, but it was fun,
Well, Toronto's a lot better than that. We really don't make you sleep in pubs and in rollaway beds. We actually do have lots of hotels.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. It was sort of funny.
Maybe they wanted you to stage it.
I need a staging too.
Yeah,
sure.
They thought you were going to leave and it was going to be magical, this magical transformation or something.
No. All right. So you last year did a webinar on pricing. And it was, you had over, it was like 147 people, or almost pretty large number of people tuning into the webinar.
I've had over 300 people ask for the replay of that webinar. And
wow.
And I don't think it was because it was amazing. I think it's because there's just such a lack of confidence and a lack of understanding of what really needs to go in your pricing. And it was just, to me, it was like this sign for help, honestly. Yeah. It's a big deal. I think some of the things that really happen to stagers when they don't know pricing is that they really panic, and so hopefully the webinar helps them from panicking. But
right, and I want to say, I was going to preface this whole segment. We're not price fixing. You guys can charge what you want for your services.
Yes,
this
absolutely.
Session is just kind of an idea, framework, some thoughts you need to kind of think about when you're pricing your services. Marianne's going to talk about the mindset of pricing and your value. So these are just things to kind of keep in mind. But, every market's different, and we certainly are not telling you have to price it at one exact price, but just make sure that I'm all about your value as well, making sure you're not, giving away your value. So
absolutely, absolutely.
You're right that a lot of the stagers tend to struggle when it comes to pricing their services. They either weren't taught how to do that, or are just kind of unsure, like, can I really, make that much money, or should I really be charging this amount of money for my services? And so they might have an idea of what the market will bear or even what the industry will bear, but then they don't know how to put their pricing together. So,
Yeah.
what are top three areas you think the stagers struggle with pricing?
Well, I think one is consistency, and that's like across the industry on the whole. And it's not to say that everybody has to do it the same way, but nobody knows what anyone else is doing. And like that just happens because we're in business and people sort of want to keep those things to themselves. I have to say, honestly, I think it's also because they're not confident in being able to tell you what it is that they do that's different with their pricing or that works for them. They've worked hard and found a solution and they might not necessarily want to share it. So, but that's just the way it is. But there is no real consistent formula for learning the pricing. I think there are some staging programs that don't teach pricing, or they skim right over it. And also, too, in all fairness, when you take a training program, you have no point of reference. You have like no idea how you're going to charge or what that means or what a staging job is going to look like. So if you've never done it before, and now you have to actually go in and price a job and figure out how you're going to do it and remember what you learned in class. I know for the first year of my business, I completely left off one chunk of all my pricing. I just totally forgot that ever existed because it took me, a little while to get jobs going and to know what I should be pricing. So yeah, so I think consistency across the industry has not helped for sure, for sure. And I think that one of the things that happens as a result of that is that stagers invest way too much time creating their price, and so then when they don't get the job, they're devastated and they assume it has to do with price, where it could have a whole bunch of different things going on.
Like it could be like availability of the person wants it one day, you can't respond, you're not able to do it, or it could also just be relatability. There's a lot of different factors, but you're right. Being able to pull a proposal together and being able to price out a project, not taking hours and hours and hours to do that because we're not really paid to do that normally. So so consistency is, yes, for sure.
Yeah. And so having that consistency and then sort of, spending way too much time on it, trying to like figure out what that price is going to look like. And also, I think one of the big challenges, and we don't talk about this in the industry so much, is that what actually also happens is that oh, damn, that totally went what I was going to say. Every job is different. So it's not like every job we can use the same price for the most part, unless you've been staging a while and you can really figure it out to really work for you. Most of us don't do that, and most of us are caught building a price for every project we do, which you've invested your time and your effort, and you're desperate for that job. You want to please that client. So I think that's part of it too. So having something an easy template that just helps you to apply it. I think it's also not understanding what should go into your price. That even if you learned it in a classroom about what you're going to do to create your price, really understanding from your perspective as a business owner what goes into it is really key. And I will say from experience, I struggled with this for a long time, and then I had a couple of aha moments reading some material from a completely different place, had nothing to do with staging. And I think that's also one of the struggles, is we think we're different. And we're actually not. We're in this to make money, and we have to make a profit. And there's a way to make a profit.
Being able to consider all your, we're never 100% profitable when we go out and do any kind of a staging, whether it's a consultation, a hands-on, a vacant property, or what have you. We have overhead, and so being able to think about, I actually blogged, and this is probably. So we just moved out here. So this is 8 or 9 years ago. I did a series of blogs on what are you paying me for, and I just printed them off. I'm not going to read them. However, I'm going to repost these because the first one talks about just kind of the value of staging in general. What are you paying me for? And then I break down in a consultation what are we being paid for? When you go in there, it's not just writing up things. You're being paid to relate to that client immediately when you walk in that front door. You have to kind of size them up, kind of determine their temperament if you can, and then adjust your message accordingly so you don't hurt their feelings. Within, you're there walking around the house the first time you've seen it, you have to come up with the whole plan, and so that's a skill to be able to do that in your head, and then to be able to communicate that in a way that's not offensive, and then following through when we make the realtor look good. I mean, there's all these things that we're doing to add value just in a consultation. And you're still not 100% profitable because you took, time to get there, your gas for your car, You have insurance, you've got marketing expenses, you have memberships, you have education. Those are all things that your business should be paying for. So you got to
Yep.
kind of think about when you price things out. It's not you have other variables that are fixed operational costs that you do want to be covering with spread it out amongst your projects. So
Exactly, exactly. And I think also it's also now not every training program endorses this part, but I think that it's really invaluable to have a base hourly rate and to have come around to that hourly rate with intention, like know exactly what's going into that hourly rate and why you've created it that way. Because at least that hourly rate, like when you go to do a consultation, at least if you know you're going to be gone for 2 hours, you would charge minimum twice your hourly rate so that you at least make your hourly rate back. And at least that's
right.
going to cover some of those expenses and that you build into an hourly rate. So if you haven't done that, I really recommend that. That's a really it's a huge eye opener to realize like what your value is when you start to do that. And this is like one of the things that I really like. You asked me to take a couple of notes about like what I think stagers struggle with and how we could change it. And I think one of them is that we don't recognize. First of all, we don't recognize the value that we bring. And I've forgotten what I was going to, I keep doing this. I haven't had a full coffee yet. I think that's my problem this morning. What was it I was going to say? You really want to make sure that you are charging your value and charging your expertise. And we all come to the table with a huge amount of expertise, which we second guess, that we don't necessarily trust, especially in the beginning of our business, where we're looking at what the competition is doing, and we're not necessarily thinking that that this is about us. Oh, this is what I was going to say. That I think one of the big things is that we forget that our business is about us. And what we charge is not about what any competition is doing. It's not about what the buyer is going to pay for. It's truly like how much it costs us to do our business. If your buyer isn't, your seller is not willing to go, or they don't seem to be paying your price, then look at whether or not you're looking at the right seller. So start targeting a different seller that will pay for it, because there will be people absolutely who will pay for it. So look for those people, or reduce your expenses somewhere in your own business, or change the way you do your service or how much you put in your service. And that will make a big difference to your pricing as well, and make it profitable. So it's not about like what they're doing and whether they bought you. It's about what you're doing and are you profitable? Are you making money? Because if you're not making money, then you're going to struggle. You're going to be upset. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel stressed all the time. I can tell you, sweat a whole lot unnecessarily. But if you are confident in what you put into your price, that you are making a profit back, that you can pay your bills, that your client is getting value for their dollar, and that you're totally comfortable with that and they're happy with that, then your business completely changes, and your attitude to your business and your confidence in your business pricing completely changes as well.
Right, it
Yeah,
does.
that's my spiel.
Yeah, and so I think one of the nuggets here is in wherever you are watching, if you don't know what your market will bear, like an hourly rate for your market, you need to figure that out. I mean, when I started in Sacramento, there was no staging happening, so I literally guessed at what I should charge, and I knew not to share my hourly rate with clients because they would kind of freak out, because we're paid differently than the regular
Yeah.
job, retail, corporate, whatever. We're paid according to like what the real estate market, how it pays its people that participate in that process. So I literally guessed at a pricing, and then I thought, well, they're either going to run me out of town or they'll pay it. And so I started the benchmark, but I came in underneath at that time interior designers and decorators, because staging wasn't as well known. And so I just really strongly advise anybody who hasn't figured that out yet, don't guess. Find out what the other people are charging in the market, and you can adjust it slightly, but you don't want to be known as the low ball leader, and you don't want to leave money on the table. And we
No.
teach that to our clients. Why should they stage in a hot market? Well, because you don't want to leave money on the table. So as a business owner, you also don't want to leave money on the table. And I hear, strategies like, oh, I'm going to do things for free when I first get started as a stager. I'll go out and do things for free, and then they're going to see how fabulous I am, and then they're going to want to hire me. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, there's no value in free, and free is not a good strategy. You can do complimentary, like a complimentary consultation for a drawing, but never give your value away for free, because it's very hard to increase your prices once you set them in a particular market, because your clients get used to it. And secondly, the mindset of you're giving it away, and you don't have to be doing that to get business.
No, and the thing is, honestly, when you give it away, if you ever think about giving away a complimentary or a free consultation as a giveaway at a realtor event or something like that, nobody sees value in it. They don't. They use you the once for the free one. They never use you again. And when you reduce your price, then you give them a deal, then you are always setting yourself up for the fact that they know you'll give them a deal, and they'll come back to you because you're cheaper than anyone else now. You're not selling your value, and it is so hard to get back from giving a deal to really actually being paid for your value. So I think that truly is very important.
So Monica is saying, please speak slowly. You and I both talk fast, so I'll try to slow down, Monica. It's hard for me to talk at this pace because I feel like I'm talking really slow. But I remember, so I had a client that I was doing did a vacant proposal, sent off the pricing, and he came back. It was the first time I'd worked with this guy, and he came back and he said, we accept your proposal. We're happy to work with you. And thank you for shaving off $400 off the total since we're a first-time client. And so, I've been doing this a long time, and I wasn't intimidated. Sometimes you kind of feel like, oh gosh, do I need to do that to get the business? So I pushed back and I said, I didn't say I was going to shave $400 off. And if you want me to do that, we're going to have to start eliminating rooms, which I do not recommend. And so he said, okay. And then the same guy, when it came time for the rental to renew, tried to negotiate on the rental, and I said I'll be there in a couple of days to pick up my things, and then they paid. So it's just sort of, you don't have to be nasty about it, but you do need to be firm on your pricing and not let people push you around, or also not let other people tell you how much you should be charging for your services, because how do they know? They're not in the industry. They don't know what your expenses are that you have to cover to run a project. They have no knowledge of that. So
yeah. It amazes me still that realtors especially don't really have a clue as to what goes into a pricing for a staging job. And I highly recommend, if anyone is like struggling with finding realtor, or maybe not struggling with finding realtors who will pay it, but struggling with realtors who struggle with them, who try to convince them that they should do it for less. First of all, run away from those realtors, because when they tell you that, well, so-and-so will give me a better price, $100, just run away, because they will never see your value. They're only picking based on price. And do you really want to be known as the cheapest stager, the one with the lowest prices? I don't, and I can't imagine why anyone would. If you love interiors and you love homes and you love everything to do with homes, you want your homes to look great when you're a stager. So being cheap with that is not on the cards. So just run away from those realtors. But I think we still have a lot to do in educating some of those realtors as well, because there's still many who don't stage, and we have to educate them on what we actually do. And of course, things like HGTV have really, and the Property Brothers have really amped that up to have homeowners realize that you're going to bring in furniture, or expect you to bring in furniture. Like in my market, I wouldn't recommend to a Toronto area stager to not have inventory, because when you go, I find, and Monica, I think it was Monica Stanchu was talking, that in our market, when you go to a consultation and you're talking to them about what's going to happen, they ask you, so what furniture are you going to bring in? Like, I get that more than I have ever. And that's because there's now an expectation that you're going to bring furniture. So of course there's a price attached to that. And so at least with that sort of tangible thing about having like inventory, we can at least say we invest in this much every year or every quarter in our inventory, and we get persons to make that money back. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, education is the key. So as you were sharing that, I wrote that down. Like, we need to educate. It's up to us to educate our potential clients. People don't know what you don't tell them. So never assume that they know how you work. Never assume that they know how the staging process works. Realtors, they do a lot of things that the public doesn't know about behind the scenes. When the offer comes in, there's all these activities they do, and people don't know that unless they're in the industry. So they have to educate people as well to demonstrate their value in the process. So we need to do the same thing. We need to be letting them know that it's not just I'm staging a house. There was the creative planning and direction, the loading, the unloading, the staging, having to go back and destage. There was the selection of all the inventory items, maybe having to go shop for particular things. So there's a lot of time that goes into planning a project, a vacant staging that people just don't see. And I do like the shows. I think that they are getting better as far as at least showing the property staged. But I know Kevin's watching from Sacramento with the class. Hey, Kev, and he's on Flip or Flop. And so when they do that segment, they'll show people coming off the truck, carrying furniture. They might show them arranging it in the house. Kevin sometimes gets to say a few words, but it's like, I don't know, Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's less than 10 seconds, 10 or 15 seconds. And yet that whole staging took days to plan and execute. So that's what the public is not seeing. They don't see, that we're sweating and, it's physical and demanding. And, we're basically, someone posted on Facebook, I think it was Michelle Minch, that we're basically decorating or setting up a house in a matter of hours. It's like moving in.
Yeah.
And we do this with multiple properties all week long. We're doing this. So there's a total skill to that. So, but the public doesn't always see that. And so that's up to us to explain.
Yeah, and they also don't see. I know somebody posted recently about the fact that it may have been you, Jenny, that at least 75% of the work, 90% of the work is done outside of the home before we even get there. So that's one of the reasons that you want to be paid up front before you even do the job, because we still have people to pay whether or not they cancel or not, because we have done a ton of work up front, right? Yeah, and absolutely. I think that's part of what they don't see. They don't see that someone has to go, you need a buyer or you need to have buying eyes to be able to go and shop for that inventory. That's a whole task in itself. As we know, it's the industry has evolved so much, even in the last 9 years that I've been in the industry. It has evolved so much that we have to, like, it's big business. Like, I know we're not big business, but I don't know if anyone has found this, but I've sat in networking meetings or networking events with other people, especially women, who do a lot of MLM, like the multi-level marketing businesses, or they're consultants, and they have they don't have overheads like we do. They don't spend money and invest back in their business like we have to do in order to maintain our business. So we're a different entity, and we are certainly different than we were 8-9 years ago as well. So,
yeah, I know, I totally agree. So what are some of the strategies they can work on for pricing? So just so you guys know, Catherine's going to be at the IHOSP conference in Charlotte in the fall. Her topic will be on pricing strategies that bring you business and are successful. So I didn't want her to give all her secrets away today, but I did ask her to give us a few nuggets. So strategies for pricing.
Well, I think for the first one is to get yourself out of comparing yourself to your competition. Really, there is no competition. There's only one you. So don't worry about what other people are doing. They don't have the same inventory as you. Nothing is the same. Nothing is the same. So stop comparing to others. Make sure marketing to the right ideal client, to the right people who are going to pay for your value, who want what you offer. And so start looking at that. Start looking at who those people are. If you find people are not taking the bait, don't want your pricing, aren't paying for you, and you believe that's why, then start marketing to somebody else. And then also start looking at, if that's the market you really want, start looking at what they really want and making sure that if it is a lower price point, that perhaps you have to start offering something different that's going to fit in that price point and still make your profit. If you don't make your profit, then you're not going to be in business. So sometimes we have to get out of our own way about what we think is ideal services that we would love to deliver, and start thinking about what our clients will pay for from us and adjust it. But the whole time taking into consideration the fact that whatever price you offer, as long as they buy and you make a profit, those are the critical pieces. So stop looking and feeling like it's being done to you, that they're not buying you, and start figuring out what you can do to make sure they buy you and you make money.
Teresa just wrote, she's got a contract for $500,000 house because the other proposal was too low and they didn't trust it. I just had that happen yesterday.
Yeah,
same thing. So my price was actually higher, and the seller said, I don't have the same confidence level in this other person. So cheap does not always mean better. You can also add value. So if you have services you're offering and you're finding you might be on the higher side, think about other services you might be able to offer, like maybe you bring in the photographer, and that doesn't cost us that much to provide that. That's an extra step the realtor then wouldn't have to coordinate. That might be something they'd be really excited about. Or I know that Teresa, I'll use her as an example, she has coordinated in some of her properties cleaning services. So they come in once a month or every other, 2 weeks, and they clean the property. And that again is a benefit to the homeowner and the realtor. So you can find other ways to add value. Marketing the property. That's one of the values that I have always put in my proposals, that I'm not just going to stage your house. I always say I continue to work for you after the staging is complete. What I'm going to do is I'm going to market that property. I'm going to expose it on social media. I'm going to load it onto different sites for exposure. I want to help partner in that success. And so I've been selected because of that one little aspect in my proposal, because I'm actually doing something beyond just staging the property. So
I'm going to tell you this quick. I'll tell you this quick little story. It has nothing to do with staging, but my kids are both adopted. My first child, when we went to go, when we were being presented with, they present you with profiles, or they present your profile, more to the point. And somebody, we had our name in for one child, and it didn't happen. And they told us that the only reason that it didn't happen was because the parents, or the soon-to-be parents of this baby, were they had a piano. And the girl liked the piano, and that's why she chose them. So people pick the weirdest thing.
There's a connection. Yeah. There's a connection.
Yeah. So we don't know. Like I couldn't go out and buy a piano. So, so we don't know what it is that people really want and really like. And we can't spend our time second guessing. And I know Michelle Minch talks about this often, about just like get on with it. Like you sent the price, now on to the next job. You're looking for your next client, not that one.
Right. And when you have volume, you have a lot of requests coming in. One client doesn't become so important. So that goes back to marketing your business, having the volume of requests coming in. Listen, nobody bats 1,000. I don't care who you are. Nobody gets 100% of every client they go after, every project, every consultation, whatever. You're not going to get the business 100% of the time. There might be times where you have on a streak, but then you're going to hear a no. That's just natural. So the key is to increase the volume, so one staging project doesn't become your whole world, that like, if I don't get this, oh my gosh, I can't pay my bills, or I really need this. And I know that there's times we probably all have felt that way. Go get more business, that one client does not become that critical to your business success. And
absolutely,
something, Joanne Leonard-Weary, she posted this on a Facebook group, I think it was last year sometime, and it really resonated with me. She said, as we're pricing our services too, that we don't get paid for inefficiency. So those people that are new, you might take you longer to do a staging project or to do different services. It doesn't mean that you factor out, like, if I can do something in 2 hours and it takes you 6, I've been doing this for 16 years and you're brand new, the client's not going to pay 6x the hourly, the going rate. You have to scale your pricing so it's in line with what other people are doing as well, and learn how to get faster in your staging. Become very, very efficient so that you can maximize your profit.
Absolutely.
All right. So what are you going to cover at the 2018 conference in a nugget?
Well, I'm going to talk about, in a nutshell, I'm going to give you some strategies that are going to help you to set yourself up so that you have success, so that you are making a profit, that you're getting the clients and you're selling the jobs. So, and it's really based a lot on common sense and what we're talking about here, but it's kind of maybe putting it in perspective. And you'll also get like the template that I use, which sets out how you would price and what goes into your pricing, so that you're no longer worried about whether or not you're doing it right. There's at least a formula to do it, and it's not a crazy formula, and it can be tailored to be very specific to your market and to your business specifically. So there's and it can also there's a bit of flexibility in the way that I put the formula together, but we're gonna work on that, and I think you'll be very happy and have some clarity if you've been worrying about it so far.
Yeah. So the conference, Jan, it's going to be so exciting. So it's October 18th to the 20th in Charlotte. It's the International Association of Home Staging Professionals, or IHOSP, Conference and Expo, and our keynote speakers are the Scott brothers, Jonathan and Drew, the Property Brothers, and we also have Barb Schwartz as our inspirational keynote, and then we have Scott Hansen as a business keynote. Then we just added Kelly Ellis and Joseph Hecker are going to be broadcasting live from our conference all 3 days that we're there. So it'll be super exciting. So that's, you can go to ihospconexpo.com. If somebody who's making comments, if somebody could type that in there so people could see that, that would be awesome. Any last words for us?
Just get out of your own way. Just get out of your own way and don't, it's just one piece of the puzzle, and just get on and the most important thing you need to be doing is finding the paying clients and getting those jobs, and just focus on that. Everything else will come.
And I agree. I mean, you want people that appreciate what you do, that see your value. And sometimes, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes when I walk into a client's house and we're telling them like, make your beds clean, pick up your stuff, to get rid of the clutter or whatever, I feel sometimes like, I can't believe I get paid to do this, because to me it seems so obvious as far as what they need to do, like common sense, but they're stressed out. And so then I have to remind myself I'm providing a valuable service. And whether, I end up telling them a lot of things or just a few things, it reinforces or reassures them that they're on the right track. And they want that plan because they're stressed out. But I still sometimes can't believe, I walk away from a consultation like, okay, I just made a quick, to me, it's easy money consultations. When you're sharing the vacant properties, I love seeing those come together. They certainly take a lot more time and effort. So anyway, but it's a great business, and it pays so differently than a job corporate, where you're told how much to make, you get to make an hour, when you get a raise, when you can go on vacation, how much you're worth, when you have to show up, when you can eat lunch, when you can go home. And so being in business for yourself, there's a lot of benefit. And then being in this particular industry that, that does pay its participants well, whether you're a photographer, an appraiser, an inspector, a stager, the realtor. I mean, it's a great industry to be part of.
But you have to ask for it. You have to demand that. I often two things that I think are really important that I always sort of push is that we're always going to be the most knowledgeable person about selling a house, or staging in a room ever. Even with realtors, we're going to know more about what sells in that house than anybody. So you have to go into a property and into a job and a consult, believing and knowing that, and walking that talk is one thing. And I also think that when you do that consultation, you are bringing almost more value to the sale of the property than you are when you do the staging. So as long as you keep those two things separate, so that that it's not a means to an end when you do the consult, that it's about you are delivering a service that these people don't know to pick up their underwear. I don't know how, but they don't seem to do it, and you bring so much value. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the saying that we learned years ago, the way you live in your home and the way you market and sell a house are two different things. Because I still am shocked when I walk into people's houses. And believe me, my house is not 100% picked up and at all hours. I mean, I have 4 kids and a dog, and there's always somebody here, so messing things up. But I'm sometimes shocked. I'm sure you guys are too when you get out there. And then you find the client that the house is clean and it's pulled together, and it's a pleasure. To not have to just experience all the ick.
I'm thinking, what's wrong with you?
Well,
my house is the same.
I mean, they're people are stressed out, and it's, I always say clean is a relative term. So some people's level of clean, they're fine for them, and for me, it wouldn't even, that's like no way. I mean, I've seen pee on the floor in a bathroom where kids are learning to potty train. I've seen animal excrement on the floors, and they're just walking around, and I've seen loads of laundry on the floor, and it's just not for me.
The one thing I think always to remember too when you do a consult is you're usually seeing people at their worst, because they've just decided to sell their house and now they're kind of in a panic and they're not really sure what they're supposed to do. So sometimes you see everything pulled out and it's halfway done, and they know they need to finish something, and it's probably the worst time ever to go into someone's house. I certainly wouldn't want to stay in my house.
Right. They always start in the closets, it seems, unless we get there first. We tell them, don't start in your closets, start in the main rooms first, and then work your way, because they're not going to photograph the closets. I always tell them you have a couple extra days to get those tidy. But I can't tell the number of times I walked in and the closets look fabulous and all that stuff is on the floor. It's like the house threw up on itself and it's all sitting in the rooms. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to get rid of this stuff. So well, Catherine, I'm so excited to have you joining us in Charlotte. I can't wait to meet you in person. And so everybody, Catherine Lewis Brown, the successful stager. She has a page called Just for Stagers, and you have another one too, right? A Facebook page or group?
I have a Just for Stager group, a Facebook group. That's just for staging and stagers, and then another one on how to start a staging business as well, if you're interested in that too. There's two groups. All right.
Great. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Catherine.
you so much. It was great to see you. Take care.
Yeah.
And I'll look forward to seeing everybody in October.
Absolutely. Thanks, Catherine. Okay. Marianne, I need you to request to come on. So that was great information. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing. So Marianne, if you are watching, Let's see here. Marianne. Whoops. Let me see if I can find her requests. Add viewers. Whoops. Okay. So Marianne, if you're watching, come on in. I thought I saw you watching. Add viewers to your broadcast. I want to go through everybody. It won't let me type it. Okay. So Marianne Chirico is supposed to be on. So Marianne, if you are, if you're there, send me a little message because I don't see your request coming in. Let's see here. Okay, Marianne. Okay. Request to join. I'm messaging you on my other phone. So, so wait for Marianne to come on. So pricing, it's really critical that we get this figured out in our business because I do feel that a lot of people in the industry really don't know how to price their services. Maybe they weren't taught that, or they think, oh, I can't really get that. I'm new. I can't charge that much. And so you want to make sure you understand what your market will bear. So it's simply, asking other people. I don't think it should be a big secret what the range is in a market. So, we know we do surveys around, the country at our conferences. We come up with the range. We know what the market will bear in a range around the country. And so, but you want to know what your market is doing. Hey, Barb. So Barb's here from Italy, I see. So I need to add you. Okay. All right, let's see here. You guys are messaging me and I'm sorry, I'm swiping the screen. I can't do messages right now. Sonia, you got to disappear. Okay. All right, let me see, Marianne, if I can try to add you without losing my phone here. Requests to be in your broadcast. Oh, you guys are requesting to be. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, but I have to add someone. Let's see here. Add viewers. All right, this is not. All right, for some reason it's not allowing me to add your head, Marianne. That's weird. Okay, what does this one do? Invite friends. Okay, let's see here, Marianne. Marianne. So we want to be mindful of not leaving money on the table. And it kind of goes back to what Catherine was talking about, knowing what your what your costs are, your operational costs for your business. You need to know what your bottom line is for where you're not going to be profitable. So I just invited you, Marianne, so I hope you got an invitation. So check on that. So you need to know what your bottom line costs are. So let's say you have people have warehouses. Maybe they have employees and trucks and things like that. Those are fixed costs that they need to cover and any kind of staging. Let's say that you're just doing consultations. You're not doing a hands-on or a vacant. It's a consultation. As I said earlier, you have your vehicle, wear and tear. Maybe you just do the mileage deduction, but you got to keep track of stuff. But you have expenses, and then however you decide to deliver that product, whether it's typed or handwritten, you need to account for those costs. All right, let's see, Marianne. There you are. Well, so Marianne, I think you need to, let's see, you just disappeared. There you are. You may have to log out and come back in or something, Marianne, because it's not letting it. It has a thing where it says that I've added you. Add viewers. Okay, add viewers to be invite friends. Sorry, you guys. We had this tech check earlier. It worked out fine, and now it's not. All right, Marianne. So I've invited you, Marianne. So you may need to reboot your phone and then come back in. So I'm going to kind of share with you when I wrote this blog post, and I will post this on. I'll post links to it on the Homestaging Talk page for you. So I was inspired to write this when I was approached by a realtor who had a stager that he had been using that would charge $500 for all-inclusive, like 3 months of staging a condo, etc. And he said, seems all the stagers in this market have increased their prices 100-fold, and I cannot find anyone to work at the rate I'd paid before. And then he shared with me, and I said, well, what happened to your stager? Why aren't you just working with her? Well, she went out of business. Exactly, because she ran herself into the ground. I didn't say that to him. I was thinking that. So I thought, cheap is not always the best strategy, because you can't run a business and continue to operate at a loss. So what do you pay for when you hire a stager? This is for the public or for a realtor. First of all, we have a business. That means that we have licenses, education, overhead insurance, memberships, marketing fees. At a minimum, we have to cover those costs. Then they're paying you to effectively communicate with their clients, the messages, and to do it in a way that doesn't offend the client. You're paying for a skilled negotiator. You have someone who understands the psychology of staging and motivating factors for a seller, because sometimes we have to motivate them to do things like paint their walls or remove certain furniture. So we need to be able to communicate that in a way that's going to motivate them. You're paying me to make you look good to your sellers, for the realtors. So we are an extension of their team. So that's what we're being paid for, is to represent whoever's listing it is, to make sure that we make them look good. We're not going to offend the client. We're not going to hurt their feelings, and so forth. You're paying me for my knowledge of the market, understanding what should or should not be done based on your market. So maybe there's houses that, do they all need to be updated? Do they need some updating? You're going to direct the budget for a client on where the best value is for their bang for their buck for selling. I study statistics and I stay up on trends. So I know what colors, fixtures, flooring, cabinetry, countertops, etc. are the ones that today's buyer wants to see in a property. And and I know what it's like to move and sell, and it can be emotional, and I don't take that lightly with clients. So we're coming in alongside them to help them. We're also the advocate for future business for realtors, for referrals. We partner with them for success. So those are all things that realtors may not realize, and that's up to us to communicate that to them. So we need to make sure that we're communicating our value. Somebody asked about whether we list all the furniture items when we do a proposal, and there's different ways you can do a proposal for pricing, but some people do like to list out every single thing that the seller is getting. Personally, I don't do that. I just let them know what rooms we're staging, and in my head, I know what I'm planning to bring in there, but I don't get that specific. So that's subjective. That's not right or wrong. It just is completely up to you whether you want to provide that. So Marianne, let me know if you're back in on your phone. All right. So as you consider your value for staging, have you guys taken a look at the other industry professionals that are also affiliates of the staging industry? And so you can see how we price our services are in line with what other people are charging that are also part of the industry. So when you look at like an average appraisal around the country, now that's on the buy side, that's like $300 to $600 typically. Average home inspection, depending on how large the property is, could be a few $100s to as much as $1,000. It just depends on how large the property is and how the inspector charges their services and how long it takes. Pest inspections, where they do those are like usually about $80 to $100, and they can lead to issues like termites and things like that have to be dealt with. And so staging, on average, when you take a look at our service fees and so forth, we're directly in line with what some of these other services are charging, and actually we're usually less. So, and we actually bring value to the sale. So we actually help the house sell quicker and slower, in a traditional market, and also for the most money. So I like to say that staging is the only service done in preparation of the house for sale that actually brings measurable value. And if you have not read or seen the Profile of Home Staging, the statistics that NAR came out with, that's a powerful survey. They've done it twice, 2015 and 2016, or 17, 15 and 17. They have all sorts of pie charts and bar graphs and so forth, but they break it down. I mean, nearly 50% of buyers, according to their surveys the last 2 times they've done it, are willing to pay more for property that's staged. I mean, then it's just sort of like, it's like a no-brainer, right? Everybody should be staging their houses. And so I know that a lot of clients can get hung up on the dollars, and what I learned years ago from Barb, it's that they're not spending their money, they're investing it. So staging is an upfront investment that helps maximize the rate of return on the sale of the house. And when a seller does not stage, they don't keep the money that they didn't want to pay. I don't want to spend that money, it's too much. I don't want to, we're moving. I don't want to put one more dime into this house. We're not spending anymore. And so spending is considered wasteful, right? Investing, they get a return. So staging is an upfront investment. And so when they don't go for the staging, you know what happens? They either list at a lower price, or they sit on the market longer than they need to, or they leave money on the table because they didn't stage, depending on the market. So, and that's usually, from my experience, anywhere from like 5 to 20x, 20 times what the staging investment would have been. And so it doesn't make any sense for people not to stage, in my mind, because they're not keeping the money that they're not spending. They're actually losing money and value by not staging. And so that's an important thing to convey to people as well. It's not, don't look at it as an expense or you're spending this money. Look at the return you're going to get as a result. So Marianne, I'm sad because it worked before for this. So let's see. I'm trying to add you in, Marianne, and I don't, my viewers. Okay, that's not going to work. So Marianne, let me know if you're back on, and what we can do. You have to reset your phone. Marianne, are you on Wi-Fi? Make sure you have your Wi-Fi on. If you can't see me on your phone, it's probably the Facebook app on your phone. It kept crashing on me repeatedly. It's been doing that the last 3 weeks. So I started like quarter till we were supposed to come on at like 9:15, and it crashes, and finally it works. So yes, thank you, Maha. She says, I tell every single client they're not spending, they're investing and selling their house quickly and for a higher price. So Marianne, are you on your phone? If you're on your cell phone and you go to my profile, then you should be able to see where you can add yourself in as a guest. If that doesn't work, then we'll do what I did last week, which is have you call in on my cell phone, and I'll just hold it up with the speaker. And I, don't necessarily like that aspect of it, but at least we can hear you. Okay, so she says Facebook crashed. Yes, it kept resetting. So why don't you call, I have my other cell phone here. So you're going to call my cell phone, and we'll have you on speakerphone. So my cell phone is 720-800-5485. So go ahead and give me a call. Go ahead and give me a call. So when it comes to pricing your services, it's also important to know, bring in all the aspects of the process. So don't just take a look at the time you're going to be in a house staging. Think about any of the planning and prep that we talked about and estimate how much time that took. And you're not going to get paid for every single second you're thinking about the staging. So you have to become very efficient on your planning, the proposal preparation, etc., so that you are in line with your market. Because as I said, you don't get paid for inefficiency. So you want to learn how to maximize your profit by being efficient in a property. Once the room is staged, move on to the next space. Don't keep going back and going back and going back to that same room and adjusting and tweaking it. You need to move on and get through the house so that you can maximize your profit. Of course, you want each area to look right. You want to make sure that it, is to your standard. So I'm not saying just blow through a house and, without any care. However, there's a point where the room is done, move on to the next space. All right, so Marianne, 720-800-5485. So to call me, you have to be, take your phone out of airplane mode. If it was in airplane mode, make sure it's not in airplane mode. I'm going to make sure that my phone's not in airplane mode. Yep. Okay, it's not. All right, so just go ahead and call me, and then we'll get you on. Can't wait to hear what she has to say. All right, so continuing on with the value you bring. So here's an example of why with vacant properties pricing. Here's a rundown of typically what goes into staging a vacant. And there's the 16-step vacant project planner on the fast track sessions that you guys can, anybody who's a member of the association can access. And it takes, here you are. It's the 17 or 16 steps for the vacant staging project planner, because those are all things that are elements of the planning that people may not know about. All right, Marianne, hello. You there? I'm here. Marianne?
Hello?
Hi. All right. Yep, I'm here.
Oh,
So
I'm listening to you talking. I'm like, how is she talking to me too?
Yes, you may want to turn it, because there's actually a delay, like a few second delay between what we have here and then what they see on the screen. So you may want to turn off the computer volume.
Yeah, I just did. I am so sorry. It kept like your live was like stuck on my phone. I kept rebooting it, and I'm sorry, it just
It's
didn't
okay.
work.
It's all right. So can you all hear Marianne okay?
Hi, all.
Everybody, send me, is that real clear? I want to make sure she's loud enough. Hopefully. Okay. So somebody, if you can't hear enough, let me know. All right, Marianne, so let us know who you are and where are you from?
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Cherico. I'm from Foxborough, Massachusetts, and I've owned and operated a successful home staging business since 2005. I also have a 27-year background in real estate sales and marketing, and I'm a trained personal and professional development coach. And what my passion is now is helping home stagers and small business owners grow their business. And I absolutely love empowering, especially women. I work with a lot of women. So
That's great. So her coaching company is Coaching by Marianne?
yes,
Yes.
Coaching by Mary Ann Cherico.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So when you wanted to talk about the mindset strategies, because that's something you kind of specialize in when you're coaching. So when people hear that word, what is mindset? What does that mean?
So mindset is the secret sauce for any successful business owner, or even, when you want to improve your life. Mindset, in my opinion, trumps everything. It trumps every strategy, every action that we take, and every plan, because it's kind of like it's the foundation to building everything. So it's the lens through which we see everything in our life. And I truly believe that, when people want to grow their business, they're always, it seems all of us are, looking for that silver bullet, that special marketing program that's going to, help us attract 1 million ideal clients, or, what business strategy should we have? But if our mindset isn't in alignment with what we really want, then we kind of sabotage ourselves. It's like we're putting our foot on the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. So what does that mean with pricing? A lot of clients that come to me are really afraid to own their value on price, and you can tell them all day and all night that they should be charging more, but they are dealing with things that are often subconscious. I mean, let's face it, women are still paid 80 to 83%, 80 to 83 cents on a dollar that men are. And I think women especially devalue what they're worth in business. They're nurturers, they're givers. They want to give 1 million times more than what they get. This is how women have been conditioned. And they feel as though they overly have to prove themselves in order to be paid what they're worth. And the fact is, a lot of times, for instance, somebody will say, I tell them to raise their prices on their consults. And I know that I've built my whole business on doing consults because I just think it's a great model. Real estate agents pay me to do this. There's no overhead. I've gotten really sexy design and staging jobs from doing this, but it's like a low entry way to kind of get in with real estate agents,
Right.
And partner with them. So a lot of my clients will say, well, I can't, I'm charging I'm just throwing out a number. I'm not trying to tell you guys what to price in your area, because it depends on the value that you're offering. But they might say, well, I want to make $50,000 a year, and my consults are $200. I mean, if you do the math, you'd have to do 5 a week to make $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
At 200. But instead, you could be working smarter instead of harder, and you could charge double that, offer a little bit more value,
Right.
and work less. And then my thoughts are, then you can market the heck out of yourself, because as you said earlier, Jenny, it's about getting an abundance of people coming to you and not feeling like it's only that one person. Everything lies on that one person. And I think that's a mentality, especially at the beginning,
Right.
when people are trying to build their business. There's a desperation that sets in, that they feel as though they need to cling on to that person, and they'll twist themselves into a pretzel to do that. And that mindset is disempowering. It takes our power away from us on the inside, and honestly, it makes us feel bad about ourselves because we're really not getting paid what we're worth,
Right.
and we're settling for what we think we can get instead of what we're really worth. So, as an example, a lot of clients say, I charge $200 for my consults, and I'll say, well, why don't you charge, you need to charge more money. You need to charge, well, and they say, but I can't get that in my area. And I always say to them, is there anyone else in your area that's getting
John.
double that? Right?
Right. Hang on just a second,
And
Marianne.
they say yes. And that's evidence that they can get it.
Right.
It's just that they haven't figured out, first of all, how to own their value, because if they believe in their worth, then others will too. Number one, you have to own your value, and you have to be really clear about the value that you bring and believe in that 125%. And if you need to work on that inner game stuff, then you need to work on it before you have those conversations with the clients, because those clients will beat you down every which way but loose, and those are not your ideal clients. Those are the ones that are gonna make you feel bad about yourself. They're going to tell their friends about you, but they're not going to say you're the best stager. They're going to say you're the cheapest stager.
Right.
There's a saying in the real estate world, good, fast, cheap, pick two. Real estate agents understand value. They recommend contractors, stagers, people that they feel will take really great care of their clients, make them look good, get the job done, do what they say they're going to do, and that they trust. Because when they recommend you to their client, that's an extension of them. So they're not looking for the cheapest. They know what they're going to get with the cheapest. And that second-party endorsement coming from a real estate agent is worth its weight in gold. Because, I know agents that call me, they don't even get other quotes from stagers. And these are on, multi-million-dollar houses sometimes. It's because these realtors have my back because they know they're going to get the value.
Right.
And, it's especially hard, I think, when people are starting out. I also agree that, you can know what people in your area are charging as, just to help you come up with a price for yourself, but never, ever, ever worry about what somebody else is doing unless you're trying to figure, how do I position myself in the market
Right.
to add value?
Right. Yeah,
Your positioning might be completely different. You may offer photo styling and they
Right.
don't. You may offer marketing like you do, Jenny, and they don't. Your big thing might be doing consults, and the value that you bring to the real estate agents by branding them as the go-to agent that offers this value-added service. By branding you, you can align yourself with the agent, say, look, this is a tool that helps you tip the scale to get listings, and I can
Absolutely.
help you do that with co-branded marketing material and all that. So, we need to start thinking more about what we bring to the table and stop devaluing what we do. And once we do that, and it's scary sometimes, if people are going to pay $300 for a consult, they're going to pay $400 if they see the value.
Right. I know that, and anyone who's been in business, any length of time, have we given it away for free or talked too much or not priced ourselves correctly? Absolutely. I think anyone in business knows that. The thing is to make a course correction. So should you be in a thing where you're not covering your basic business expenses, you're not making as much as you want to, it goes back to what we talked about last week with goal setting and business planning and having your revenue goal and then breaking that down and how are you going to achieve that? So, as Marianne said, you can do 5 consultations at $200 a pop during a week, and that's $50,000 a year. When you break it down like that, it's little bits add up to a lot. But you have to start with a plan. You can't just go into it and going, well, I don't know what I'm going to be able to charge, and I don't know what kind of services I'm going to provide. So this is, treat it like a business, and it will reward you like a business. So So, Marian, what are top 3 tips you can share with listeners about how to improve their mindset if they're struggling?
Well, one of the things that I find that, stagers get into, a lot of the stagers that I coach, they get into a conundrum, worried about the competition, and yet they, use that as information, and then define who you are and what you bring to the table differently than the others. Now, there's certain things like, it's hard for some stagers to compete with stagers that own their own inventory because their pricing is a lot higher. And that's where stagers have to think, what is my business model going to look like then? If I don't want to invest in inventory and all of that, and it all looks really great and sexy, but when you break down the numbers, you might not even be making as much money per hour.
Right.
When you do those big jobs as you do the little ones. So, really define what you bring to the market and how. My slant was always with real estate agents, because when I started in staging in 2005, nobody was staging in this area in Massachusetts. You guys in California were my mentors because I had no precedent here. So I started with a consult, and the way that I pitch it to the real estate agents is how I can help them.
Right.
What's in it for them when they work with me and align with me? So that's my model. Maybe, and I do some sexy vacants, but I don't want to do a lot of those. I don't want to lug this stuff and all that. So you got to figure what you like doing, and you also sometimes have to think, excuse me, sorry, I have a little cold. You also have to think, maybe you have to change your business model to create something that is packaged, and you have to have huge clarity on what you offer. A lot of stagers aren't clear enough on what it is that they offer and why their ideal clients, what's in it for their ideal clients. And this is where you really have to do a deep dive and say, what is my value proposition going to be that's different than the other stagers in my area? And that's where you look at the competition and you say, yeah, but what about me is different? And how do I clearly convey that message? The thing is, we're not clear enough, we're not clear enough about what we bring to the table, and we don't stand behind it. We have to really understand who's your ideal client and what's in it for them when they work with you, period.
Right. And what's
your work? This is, good copywriting. You need to hone your skills and all of that. I think stagers need to start investing in themselves. Getting a certification is great, and you're going to learn a lot, and I highly recommend it. But I think that, once you're in business, you need to keep learning. I keep learning. I have
Absolutely.
All different coaches and stuff. You need to clarify what you do really specifically. As it gets more noisy out there in the internet world, you need to stand out. You need to become more visible. Those are mindset things. They're mindset things. They're about owning your value. Maybe really writing down and packaging your service and the benefits that you bring to people, so that you know that when you talk to that real estate agent, when you talk to that potential client, you're very clear about what you bring to the table. Those are the benefits that you bring to the client, and that's what you get paid for, the benefits, not
Right.
the features, not that you stage homes. You get paid because you help sell homes more faster and for more money. The real estate hires you because you make them look good. You offer a value proposition to tip the scale to get the listing. So be clear on your the way you position yourself,
Yes.
so that you get paid more. Own your value. And even when you're afraid, raise your prices $50. Just try raising them $50.
Mm-hmm.
If people are going to pay $300, they're going to pay $350. So that wasn't 3 tips, Jenny, was it? But
That's
it was
good,
my
though.
little rant.
No, it's awesome. The main thing is she's talking about your unique differentiating factor for your business. It kind of goes back to marketing and your message. How are you differing yourself? Because staging's not saturated by any stretch of the imagination. There's still a lot of opportunity in the industry, and there's stagers that leave, and new ones are coming in. But you do want to see, what makes you different. As she's saying, what is your value? What's your value proposition to the client? And she's absolutely right that even though we make the houses look nice, the goal of the staging is to get the house sold in the quickest time and for the most money, right? And that's the same goal that the realtor has and the same goal that the seller has. So we're all 3 of us on the same page, and the success is the result of what we do for our services. And so you want to be able to own your successes, keep track of those, be able to, anybody who's watching, start tracking your statistics, your own personal numbers if you're not doing that currently. You need to know how many projects you're doing annually, and follow up to find out, when did the house go under contract? Did it sell for more money? Go back and ask the realtor these questions so that you can turn around and say, statistically, 90% of the houses I staged, sold within 17 days and an average of 20,000 more, something like that. So you can rattle those numbers off because that's impressive. And that also adds to your value proposition. So.
And another thing that I think stagers don't think about a lot is that really understanding the client you're talking to. If you're talking to a busy mother who would rather stick a needle in her eye than have to clean up the kids' toys every single day for showings, then what you have to do is understand that your value is that once they get it all staged and the pictures done, that they could have a first showing open house and sell it the first day in most markets. So your value to that particular client is different than it might be to a busy executive who, doesn't have kids and doesn't have to do that. And they just maybe want, to make more money. So you got to really understand what your value is to each person you're talking to when you're, especially with cold leads. You want them to understand that you get them.
Right. The whole relatability and establishing rapport, which I know Barb's in Milan, so I hope you have a great time there. I learned that from Barb. She was my trainer. And so being able to establish rapport with the client and identify what their needs are. So it's always taking from the perspective of what's in it for them. Marianne, you had shared that as well. So what's in it for the realtor? What is the seller? How is it going to benefit that other person? So it's not about us when we're actually doing the service. It's about how we're helping that client. And yet what Catherine was sharing about, it is about us with our pricing, that even though you want to be in line with the market, you don't want to feel like, okay, I have to be priced exactly like somebody else, because you're not in their business. You don't have the same operating costs that they do. So take a look at your own business, take a look what your market will bear, and then come up with, pricing that makes sure that you're netting a profit. And for some people that could be 70%, 50%, 30%. It just depends. But we don't want to be running in the red, because again, free, cheap, low ball pricing, that doesn't bring value to you and your business. It's very hard to sustain that. And when you price yourself too low in a market, it is very hard to raise your prices, because people will say, well, gosh, last time you only charged me X amount. And so, be where you need to be from the start. And just because you're new doesn't mean you need to lower your pricing. I teach that. I mean, the industry is where the industry is. So, you don't have to go back 10 years for the pricing that was 10 years ago. Stay where the market is now. So any last words?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and I think this is really important, and a lot of stagers struggle with, when they're competing with somebody that has their own inventory. And the bottom line is this: I don't do a ton of those jobs, but the jobs I do, I get paid really well. But I can't compete with somebody that has their own inventory if they want to charge less for their inventory. But because I know what it costs me to use the rental furniture, and I know, that I rent back my accessories. But so my thoughts on that are that you have to decide how much you want to make on that job, and then you add the expenses in, the cost of the rental furniture, the movers, the waiver fee, blah, 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 and then that's what your fee is. And it might be $1,000 or $2,000 more than somebody that owns their own furniture, and they may or may not be being profitable on that furniture. But you have to set those guidelines and say, this is what I want to get paid on the job. You're not going to get every job. There's going to be people that are price shopping, and with the price shoppers, you might not get that job. But I'll tell you one thing: my loyal realtors don't even entertain having those other stagers look at the job. So, a lot of stagers that are beginning feel bad because, they're being price shopped. Those people, they're just looking for a low price. So don't make you feel bad about yourself. But this is the thing: you have to get off your butt and you have to market the heck out of yourself and your business. That's your job. It's your job to attract more people and have more no's. Have 10 no's and 1 yes. Have it be one person that wants to pay you what you're worth. And that's your job. And that's where stagers and business owners, that's what sets apart the successful ones. I mean, a lot of successful stagers I know are still doing the Google ads. They're still out there with Facebook groups. They're still marketing the heck out of themselves. So
you never stop marketing. Never. You always have to be marketing.
Never.
Because business will wax and wane. And my saying is, those who market make it. You have to continually. I don't care if you've been in business. I've been in business, 16 years. I still market. I still do drop-bys. I still meet new realtors. I still market my business and services because, you have to sustain the volume. And so you can't ever just sit back on your laurels and, being able to communicate your value. I just will walk away from a staging when the person comes back and says, well, so-and-so is willing to do it for X amount. I just, had a vacant house. It was like $1 million property. And they get this, a bid for $1,900 that included 3 months of rental of everything. I know. And I said, well, I go, wow, that's a great price. I said, I hope they're putting nice furniture in for that price. I said, because there's no way I could match that. And I said, good luck. And I did take a look at the pictures to see if they put, good stuff or crappy furniture in. And that's a stager that is just trying to get their stuff into a property because they don't want to warehouse it or whatever. I'm not really sure the motivation for that because they're certainly losing money. And I'm not in business to lose money. So you don't have, the stupid thing is they didn't have to do that to get the business. They didn't have to drop their drawers and completely blow out their profit in order to win the staging. That wasn't necessary because it just to me is foolish. But I'm not going to then try to compete at that same level. I'm just going to go find a client like Marianne said that sees the value, wants to work with me. And so same thing with you guys. Find the ones that see the value. It's a relationship. The reason why Marianne doesn't get shopped by her realtors is because it's a relationship and they trust her. They know she's going to do a great work. And so, and she's worth maybe she is charging more, but she's worth it because they know she's going to follow through. She's going to do a great job and bring the value.
Yeah, and having that second party endorsement is huge. And that's why I recommend that all stagers, set up coffee dates with realtors, get to know them.
Right.
Because that second party endorsement, it's a lot harder to get a cold lead online than it is to when somebody recommends you. That's
right.
Like such an in. You immediately have the trust of that client because they respect the person that recommended you.
Right. So it's the referral. So I'm looking at the time, and Leah, I would love to add you in, but we're over time. So I'm going to wrap up. Marianne, any last words?
I do have a Facebook group called Fire Up Your Home Staging Business, and I'm careful about making sure that stagers or designers are in it. If anybody's interested, just ask to join. And I also, on my website, www.coachingbyMarianne.com, I have a free downloadable called Marianne's Mindset Hacks for growing your home staging business. So
and I'll put that.
It's free.
Yeah, and I'll put that link in the comments so people can come back and look at that. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That.
Thank you so much for being on. I'm sorry the technology didn't work, but thank goodness for double cell phones. So I appreciate it. And I hope to meet you in person one day. We would love to have you at our conference, so we'll have to get that set up because you were awesome. So thank you.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
I really appreciate it.
All right, you have a great rest of your week. Bye, Marianne.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, that is our session for today. Next week, we are going to talk about social media, and we're going to have Carrie Jo Little, who is the owner of Smart Girl Media. She's also a realtor and very involved in the Chicago market. So she's going to be at our conference talking about social media. So she's going to be on our session next week, as well as my firstborn, Lauren. She is a social media provider right now. She was a communications major in journalism in college, and so she's doing social media for realtors and also for Staged Homes, our company. So this is kind of what she's been doing and kind of getting the perspective of her age group, because she's 23, so kind of that millennial perspective. So we're going to talk about social media, where to be putting your time, how to maximize your time, and probably some new apps and things out there that you're not even aware of that can help you with your business. So the following week after that, we will have what are we doing the following? I don't know. I had it in my head and I forgot it, so sorry. So pricing social media, and anyway, I don't have my computer up. So anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching.